Warning. The following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
On today's program, we're going to do a little different type of broadcast. I'm doing this mostly for a reference for myself and other discernment YouTube channels and ministries. We're going to give an American faith healer timeline and scandals, if there were any, in their ministry. We're going to start all the way back with Ethan Allen in 1846, the first faith healer that I know of, all the way up to the present. You don't want to miss today's show. Stay tuned. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hanshaw. Welcome to the Word of Truth broadcast. On today's program, as I said a while ago, we're going to be discussing every American major faith healer that I've ever come across in my 30 years of researching these phony faith, fraudulent faith healers. We're going to go all the way back to the 1800s. All the way up to the present day of 2024 when I'm making this video. So right now you can see on my screen there to your left, we're going to start there in the 1800s with Ethan Otis Allen. He ministered from 1846 through 1903. Now he's known as the father or the founder of the faith healing movement here in America. Now, I made a video on, I think, all of these individuals on today's program. If I didn't make one on all of them, I did one on nearly all of them. And we're not going to do a deep dive into their lives and ministries and false doctrines and scandals. Today is just a brief synopsis of when they began, who they ministered with, in their day, in their era, a little bit about the scandals, if they had any, all the way up to the present day. In other words, this is just for a reference for myself and for any other YouTube discernment ministry who wants a quick video on all the famous American faith healers. So Ethan Otis Allen is the first one. Dr. Charles Cullis, he ministered from the 1880s to the 1890s. Phoebe Palmer, all these guys are well known. Phoebe Palmer ministered from 1837 to 1884. Carrie Judd Montgomery ministered from 1800 to 1946. A.B. Simpson, this guy's the founder of the Christian and Alliance missionary denomination. All these are faith healers, of course. Sarah Musgrove, 1880s to 1920. A.B. Simpson, 1865 to 1919. These are their years of ministry. This is not their birth date and their death date. This is the years of active ministry that they were involved in. Now, the last one here in the 1800s era is John Alexander Dowie. Now, this man was a character, and I've made at least one video on him, and I think more than one. I've got over 2,000 videos on my YouTube channel here, so you can go back and do a deep study on him in my other videos. But he was known for one scandal after another. He founded the city of Zion, Illinois, which was a religious compound cult. And what he did there, he did a lot of money scams. Some people have described it as a perfect platform for securities fraud. And also he was involved and accused of sexual immorality. So those guys right there were the main faith healers in the 1800s here in the United States. All right, now we're going to get into the next section of American faith healers from the years 1900 to 1942. And these include Lester Sumrall. His ministry spanned from 1931 to 1996. Then we have F.F. Bosworth from 1906 to 1958. John G. Lake from 1905 to 1935. John G. Lake was involved in sexual immorality. As far as I know, Lester Sumrall and Bosworth had no scandals that I could find. Then we come down to Amy Semple McPherson. Her ministry lasted from 1913 to 1944. She was also involved in sexual immorality, and she died of a drug overdose. Then we come down to J. Gordon Lindsay from 1924 through 1973. And lastly, Smith Wigglesworth from 1910 to 1947. Now, Smith Wigglesworth was known for assaulting people when they came for healing, for prayer. He would literally punch them, kick them, slap them. That's where Todd Bentley got all of his antics from, was from Smith Wigglesworth. And I'm going to tell you right now, like I've said in other videos about Smith Wigglesworth, a man that does that is not a born-again man. He's not a saved man. A man that hits someone in prayer lines for healing, they're full of the devil. They're full of the devil. Smith Wigglesworth was full of the devil. Hello friends, I hope you're enjoying today's program. If it's a blessing to you, I would encourage you to like the video, to comment on it, and most importantly, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, share these videos. We want to get the message of the true truth of the true gospel out there. And the more you like my videos and comment on them and subscribe, then that helps the algorithm. Again, I pray that today's show has been a blessing to you, and we're going to get right back into it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's get back into today's program. Hello friends, we're offering a special book, Christian Doctrines from an Arminian perspective. I know a lot of you request me of the question, where can I get a good book on doctrines? Well, I've finished this one, and I cover every doctrine, every major doctrine in Christianity. The doctrine of God, the doctrine of Jesus Christ, the doctrine of the Holy Spirit, the doctrine of the Scriptures, the doctrine of man, the doctrine of salvation, the doctrine of man's free will, the doctrine of perseverance, the doctrine of heaven, the doctrine of hell, the doctrine of sanctification, the doctrine of demons, the doctrine of Satan, the doctrine of evangelism and global missions, the millennial reign. And I have one chapter that I've dedicated to all the false doctrines in the world today, the major ones. So be sure to avail yourself of this special offer. And I'm not charging anything for this. I am accepting any size donation or love offering. And if you can't afford it, then I will get this ebook. It's an ebook. It's not a paperback book. It's an ebook that I will email to you. It's about nearly 300 pages long. And so it's a book on all the fundamental doctrines of Christianity. Make sure and order your copy of this today. Now let's get back into the program. Okay, now let's get into the next part. Now this is what intrigues me. This is what is known as the post-World War II healing revival explosion. Now, I don't really know why all these faith healers, you can see them there in that section, why all these people sprouted up after World War II as faith healers. I've never really understood all that, but here's the famous ones. A. Allen, 1949 to 1970. This man was an alcoholic and a money scammer, and he died in the Jack Tar Hotel in San Francisco, California, surrounded by pill bottles and bottles of liquor. He'd been arrested on numerous occasions for drunk driving. The next one is J. Charles Jessup. Ministry was from 1930 to 1967. He was sent to prison for mail fraud. He was another money scammer, and he also was involved in sexual immorality. Then Ralph Boyd, 1946 through 2006. Then William Branham. This man was inundated with one false teaching after the other, and he also was a lover of money. Then we come down to Morris Cerullo, 1946 through 2020. He was also involved in money scams. He was banned from television over in parts of Europe, and I also believe up in Canada. R.W. Schambach, which was a protege of A. Allen, his ministry lasted from 1945 through 2012, another money-loving, greedy pulpit pimp. Jack Coe, 1944 through 1956. Now, Jim Jones, yes, that's the one you're thinking of. He's the one that led almost 1,000 people to a South American jungle to their suicide. He was deeply connected with William Branham. His ministry lasted from 1955 through 1978. Catherine Kuhlman, 1940 through 1976, she was involved in sexual immorality, as well as Jim Jones was involved in sexual immorality for years with men and women, and I think children too. T.L. Osborne, 1949 through 2013, and then Oral Roberts, 1947 through 2009. Oral Roberts is the father of the modern day prosperity gospel, the seed faith doctrine. You sow a seed, God's going to bless you. You give that preacher $100, God's obligated, if you name it, claim it, confess it, possess it, blab it, grab it, then God has to make you rich. That all came from Oral Roberts. He was inundated with all kinds of money scams. Also, many years ago, I cannot find this article, but I do believe it said that he hired people to attend his healing crusades under his tents to act like they were sick. I do believe that was him. I can't produce that article, but I do believe that was Oral Roberts. At any rate, he was a con artist, a charlatan, and a crook. Okay, let's get into the next section, 1960 through 1980. Now, it's pertinent that I make this statement at this juncture of the program. Not one physical healing that any of these faith healers that I'm talking about today have ever been verified or proven or substantiated to be true by a medical doctor, not one. I challenge anyone listening to me to show us a medical doctor's letterhead, a medical doctor's stamp of approval about one physical healing that ever occurred from any faith healer that ever lived from way back in the 1800s till now. Guys, I've been researching this for over 3 decades. There's not any. Not one. What's that tell us? These guys are charlatans. They are charlatans. They are not to be trusted. They are not to be listened to. You don't need to be buying their tapes and their books and their DVDs and supporting them in any way, shape, fashion, or form. Let's get into 1960 through 1980. Benny Hinn. Wow. Where do we start? This man is a money-loving, covetous, greedy, sexually immoral pulpit pimp, caught in an adulterous affair with Paula White, the other televangelist. And I can back this up. You know, some of y'all on my other videos that I make about Benny, talking about him and Paula White being caught in Rome in that sexual activity, I can back that up. I have the proof, ladies and gentlemen. I don't get on here and say anything, nothing, that I cannot back up 100%. Now, W.V. Grant, another money lover involved in sexual immorality. Reinhard Bonnke was the faith healer to Africa, but he also was a great influence, and I use the word great lightly. He was a huge influence on American faith healing. Kenneth Copeland. Wow. This man is a demon possessed. Let's just put it out there. A rank heretic, a wolf in sheep's clothing, one money scam after the other. Also, he's a false prophet. Said he was going to blow COVID away, and I gave a quote word from God. And now he's got a pacemaker. I mean, these are hypocrites. They preach one thing and they live another way. When they need a doctor, they justify it and they make excuses and all this and that and the other. They are double-tongued, two-faced, snake in the grass hypocrites. Charles and Frances Hunter, 1970 through 2010. This couple did so much damage to the body of Christ, called the Happy Hunters. These are those that would cast demons out of people's kneecaps, out of their elbows. Foolishness. I mean, heretics. Yet the modern day church eats up the Benny Hinns, the W.V. Grants, the Bonnkes, the Copelands, the Hunters, and now Leroy Jenkins. Sexually immoral, married I think 80 or 90-year-old woman who just hit the lottery. Think he went to prison for a time over his money scams. Ladies and gentlemen, these are people that we cannot trust, especially in the things of God. They are fraud, phony, fake con artists.